Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. I hope you're enjoying the nice weather. It's not hot and it's not cold. It's so comfortable. Today I am actually making stuffed pork chops. Now, apples and raisins and pork chops walk hand in hand together. They're really good. And it seems that pork is becoming the favorite food because beef is too expensive and people get sick of chicken. You can only do so much with chicken, so pork has become the top meat that people are eating in America right now. And anyway, look at these pork chops. They are thick. Now I am going to bake these. I'm going to braise them, which means, if you don't know, I'm going to be browning them, but on top of the stove. But I am going to sit there and bake them, or roast them if you wish. Yeah, we'll say roast them. And right now, I'm cutting up 3 green onions, better known as scallions. They keep on changing the name of everything. I wish they'd leave it alone. Like they say, saute is the word to prepare your vegetables before you stuff them or cook and add it to something. And now they're saying sweating. What? I refuse to learn the new language. It's not that I can't, I choose not to. So as you can see, I have chopped onions. My girlfriend tried the beer gummy bears, and she said, Sandy, can you make some more? We're going to need more. She said, I'm telling everybody about them, and they all want to try it. So she's got a lot of friends coming to her home, and they want to try them, so I'm going to make another batch today. I didn't know how they were going to come out. Now, you know, raisins and apples and go great with pork. Well, I'm using dried cranberries. This will give it a twang. Which I think will be nice. I couldn't tell you how many I put in. I might add more, I don't know yet. I have a nice crisp apple. I'm still looking for that apple upside down cake. I think it's in one of my other cookbooks. My mother used to make, she had, like I said, that big green cookbook. She had very few cookbooks, but what she did was she had magazines and stuff she used to read. She was a reader more than anything. She loved to read. And she would cut out recipes that she liked, and she would tape them into, it was actually like a little cookbook that she made of her favorite recipes. That's how we used to do it. Instead of buying the cookbooks. If we saw a recipe that we liked, we would sit there and just either copy it, you know, or cut it out and put it in a book and make our own cookbooks. That's how we used to do it. So we knew everything in that book was what we liked. I'm making one now just to keep my basics around, like making cheese and stuff. And I can't remember where all these things are. And I don't always make things, so sometimes I might forget the ratios, so I write them down as I find these ratios. And then people give me recipes, and I use theirs as well. Heather and I were experimenting, and she said, try this, Sandy. And I said, what? She said, I put radish greens in here, and they went great. Sure enough, they were very good. Most people will take radishes and throw the greens out, but they're nutritious, and they're good. I was surprised, and I said, well, if I make soups in the autumn, I'll buy some radishes, and I am going to use their greens and put it in there and see how it comes out. From what I can gather, we know we're in for a treat. You hear how level this cutting board is? It's warped. You can hear it bouncing around. We had a friend that never, ever punished their son. Never scolded him, nothing. He was talking, and they sent him to psychiatrists, they sent them here, he sent them, the parents were paying for everything. And they couldn't get control over their child, no matter what. In his last desperation, he saw how well-mannered our children were. And he said he didn't know what was wrong. So my husband asked him, well, do you punish him? He said, no. He was telling us we send him to a psychiatrist. We send him here, we send him there. But we're just not getting any results from him. Let me get some seasonings and I'll be right back. Okay, so he was just talking how he put money out for a psychiatrist. This is wheat germ I'm adding to this instead of breadcrumbs. And he was talking about the money that he was spending, and there was just nothing they could do for his child. And this child was 13 years old. And Tony listened. He said, you know what his problem is? You've never punished him. So my husband said, here's the belt. The belt that we whip our sons with. He said, our sons get punished and they get put in their place. They have to. They're children. And they have to learn. And sometimes talking doesn't do the job or anything else. And you should have seen it. We gave him the belt and said, go in the bedroom. Nobody's going to report you. We'll tell you, punish him. You know, he needs to be punished. That's what he needs. He needs a good spanking to know where he belongs in the family. He's not the boss. His wife was shocked. She said, you can't hit our son. I said, we're not hitting him. And she hit the roof. You are not hitting my son. And his son started cursing his father out and his mother and said, you can't touch me. I mean, he was calling him every name in the book. Tony gave him one look as I as well as I, and he said, I don't like them. I don't like them. And my husband said, I don't care if you like us or not. Your father, this is salt and pepper, and I'm putting allspice in here. And his father took the belt and dragged him into our bedroom. This child, who was 13, who had never been hit or punished in his life, got on his hands and knees and begged his father not to hit him. He was terrified of us. And he came out and he promised that he would behave. You know what? No, he didn't. He got home and he started being this nastier way again. And his father talked to us and said, you're going to have to hit him. He said, but I love him. I said, spare the rod, spoil the child. And this is what we've got. Children are not being punished. People say you can't punish them. And I tell anybody who sits there and says you can't punish them, I say drop dead. I want some more allspice in this. I'm thinking of putting some nutmeg in here too. And we've got children running their parents instead of the parents running them. I mean, like I said, we got whipped every Saturday by General Principal, which we thought was a real person. And we got whipped for everything that we got caught doing. And the one who did all the punishing was my mother. She was notorious for it. And my father always laughed because the trouble we got into, it was like, think. Are you people thinking? Yeah. I see my father, he couldn't wipe the smile off his face when we got whipped. Especially when my mother got embarrassed because I told the truth. My father was tickled. He couldn't wipe. He tried to tell me not, there are times you're not supposed to, this is nutmeg I'm putting in, you're not supposed to tell the truth all the time, Sandy. Sometimes you just stay quiet. And I said, but the Bible says we're supposed to speak the truth. And my father fell out. My mother was not happy. She said, you are encouraging this. Yeah, I like that combination. It's a little different. It smells a little bit like holiday. That's okay. I don't care. And so my mother was the punisher. We all feared her. She was the terror of the house. I mean, you want to talk about putting fear in? Man, she was good. My father, he couldn't keep the smile off his face. It was like he enjoyed every time my mother got embarrassed. Because she was a tyrant. It was his way of getting back at her, I guess. It was their marriage. I question it, though. By the way, when we were growing up, young ladies, you spread your legs and got pregnant, it was a shotgun wedding. And for you young people that don't know what a shotgun wedding is, you were going to marry the young man that impregnated you, and Daddy was going to sit there with a shotgun to make sure you did. And you couldn't leave her. You were not going to leave his little girl and make her a whore. He was going to make sure that you did right by her. And that's a shotgun wedding. And one of my girlfriends got pregnant, but her parents were divorced, and Mama didn't do it. She said, Mama said, you're going to get an abortion. She was like 6 months pregnant. And her mother mother paid for it, but her mother called her a whore, and because she kicked the man out of the house, the young man got away with it, and the young girl got an abortion. And this is when boners come in really handy. Now, you do not want a pocket cut from here all the way to here. Do you know why? Because it's all going to fall out. You're going to make a slit in, not a big one. This is why a boner is really nice. Now, see that small hole? You're going to maneuver and cut the inside of the pork without making that hole any bigger. And because the knife is small like this, you can go up against that bone and cut. So I've made a big pocket like this, but a tiny little hole, and we'll pack it in. So you find the bone, and I like to go from where it meets up right here. I go right here, and here's where I'm going to make the hole. Okay. Then I'm going to turn my knife. So I'm going to cut this way without cutting through. Go to the bone, as close as you can get to the bone without going through any more holes. You don't want to make any external holes. You go this way, you turn your knife, and then you go this way. So I've made a nice big pocket right there. This way. Okay. You see? We have a nice big pocket. This one we didn't go deep enough on. You see that? I'm right against the bone here. Right here. No. No, you are not getting this taffy. This one's a little thinner, so it's a little harder to do. I made a little hole right here because of the way this bone is just too thin. That's why when you stuff a pork chop, it's got to be on the thick side. Did I get under that? Yeah, that's where I want to be. Okay, now all of this I am going to put in there. Is it going to be harder? Sure, it's going to be a little harder to pack it, but at least you won't have it all coming out. Now to make a big hole, you're going to have to find a way of closing it up. That's why I'd rather make a small hole and pack it in and take my time. Because you can feel how much you have in it. And as you pack it, it will plump up. But remember, the pork chop, as it cooks, it's going to constrict. So you can only put so much in. That's why I make a big hole and I pack it all over it. Because I know some's going to come out. But I want to make sure the flavor just isn't in one area. It's throughout. So, as I was talking about those whippings and everything, so they're needed. Punishment is needed for children, and not them saying, oh, you can just talk to your children. Some children you might be able to talk to, but the majority of the children are going to need that belt on their hides to put them in their place. I remember when our sons went through that stage, and Tony put him in their place, point blank. And people could say it's cruel what he said, but the family courts are a terror to parents. This is not cutting well back down here. They told our son, and you're talking about small children, because they took us to court because we did IHIP, which is Individual Home Instruction Plan. In other words, we took them out of school because they considered sex education more important than teaching them the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. And so we did it ourselves. And they kept us in court, and they wanted to talk to our sons. Sure, you can talk to our sons. We had an attorney and all, and the attorney said, yeah, they have to talk to the children. And we said, okay. And Sean came back, and he decided that he didn't want something. Our oldest, and he decided to take his father on, and he said, I will call BCW. And BCW, we didn't know, had given them a card for parents who don't know about the tricks that the state and the city do. They give them a card and said, if your parents don't get you what you want and do what you want, you call us and we'll give you money and we will set you up. That's exactly what they told our sons. You're talking to an 8-year-old child and telling them this. So Tony gave him the phone. I was shocked my son said that. Tony told him point blank, yeah, you go ahead. You call him. And I'm going to kill you because you remember one thing, young man. I brought you into this world and I will dispatch you. There was never another problem of who was the boss in the house at that point. He listened. He realized Daddy was not playing. Daddy would dispatch him, and he knew what the word dispatch meant. And Daddy was going to kill him. You're not going to tell me what I have to do as a parent. You're the child. So the courts, when it comes to family court, there's children. They bribe your child to say things about you, unless it's really true. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some parents that need to be kept in check, but the majority of parents are good parents. They punish their children. They know when to punish their children. They know the morals they're trying to give their children and everything else. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's a department that we could get rid of. Of course, the news will try to find the worst case in the world and say, oh, we need to keep doing this. We have to. We got to protect the children. You're not protecting the children. You're protecting your job and trying to control. That's all it is. That's what it is, because we, the people, run the government. The government doesn't run us, and right now they have the power over us. And they don't want to lose that power because they like it. It's a power struggle. the American people against the government that has decided to take over how to raise children and everything else. They don't have a right. God gives you those children to raise right. Now see, I have stuffing in here, but I did not overpack them, and they have that flavor. I have a little bit left, which I'll sprinkle on them. But they ran us through every court they had, and we beat them with the right to educate our children on IHIP. Because the school wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. And nobody can tell me about sex education because I remember when it came into effect. And it's been going downhill ever since. And the girls that were in the class, and they only took A students, they were getting pregnant by the very young men who were in the class who were A students too. We had a few shotgun marriages and abortions. Mothers paid for those abortions. Or for the father did, whomever. And that's when, I remember when families were whole. You had a mother and a father. We answered to our parents, we answered to our grandparents, we answered to everybody in society. And when we went to school, parents said the principal is your father and your teacher is your mother when we're not there. So I grew up in that stable community, in the stability of the family until my parents got a divorce. And this all happened during the civil rights, and everybody was fighting. And I have been accused that you caused it, that I have to work. I said, no, I'm not one of those. I was against, because my rights were already intact with the suffrage in the 1920s. 1920s, 1910s, somewhere around that time anyway. I'm not real good with history. The suffrage, they're the ones who gave me my rights and all the rights that I had. What happened in the 60s was to force women and make them feel less than a homemaker, that it wasn't a good job, and make them go out and say, if you want to be somebody, you've got to go out and get a job. And you don't need your husband, and you don't need this, you can do it all. You're a superwoman. And that's what happened with the women in the 60s who were sitting there fighting for rights that they already had. And now you have women fighting, we need our rights. What rights do you need? We've had them since the suffrage. It's just that you didn't know it. And now look at you, and it's getting worse. And now being a woman now is you know, you're just a slave basically at this point. I mean, you come home, you got to take care of the house, and then on top of that, you've got to have a job, and then the children, and this and that. And then, well, you're running the whole house and everything and a job because you don't need a man in the house now. And now you don't even know who the father is to all your children. It's crazy. I know, I did not go. And when I was accused of that, I said I did not stand with Jane Fonda or anything. She was wrong. She did not know that we already had our rights. If you read about the suffrage and what they did, you would find out your rights go way back then. These rights are being the extreme. And people don't know that. If you knew your history, you would do better. Now I have to pause because I have to get the pots and stuff. Okay, you're going to have to grease a baking dish. And I've got oil on, but I'm going to have to keep you way back here because I've got a lot of things right here in this work area. And I need to maneuver, so I'm going to have to keep you a little in the back. I will be right back. I have to get some rosemary. Okay, we're going to put some butter this oil. I'm gonna heat this up. This is just no room here. This is rosemary. I'm actually cooking some of the oil out of the rosemary into this butter. It'll be like a rosemary butter flavor that we're going to have on the outside of these pork chops, I hope. Fingers crossed. And now we're braising this. So, get that rosemary, then we're going to sprinkle all of this on top of these, and we're going to bake this. But now I just want to brown them. Get a nice crust on them. You have rosemary growing in your yard, and you walk past it, oh, it just smells that one of your favorites. And it's a big bush. And I just let it grow and grow. And the thing is it's good. Well, when does it go to sleep? About January? It's back by March. It's 375 I want to get it started. Thick, and we want to make sure we get through these bones. Now what am I going to do with these bones? I'm going to save them, because when I go to make more gelatin, I'm going to use these bones. So I'll tell my sons, do not get rid of the bones, I want the bones. Now I checked it out how to make gelatin so you can make sweet fluid. I don't have the processing stuff to be able to do that, so I can't. But the gelatin I can make, I can put in my pastas and stews and soups and everything, my gravies and all.
That smells really
It smells good? Oh, you can say it smells good, that's all right. It's very encouraging.
smells delicious.
Okay. Okay. The rosemary and butter is giving such a lovely flavor. Notice I'm not raising these very, very dark. I'm just doing a light one. And you can see that they're not puffing up and pushing all the seasonings and the fruit that we put into them. They're staying in. That's why you're going to with that. Well, I'm going to continue doing these. I'll put you on pause and get them into the oven. Okay, we finished braising them. You see how nice they are? See this butter? You have that rosemary flavoring in it. And this little bit that we have left, well, I'm not going to waste it. You ask me how this is going to turn out, I have no idea. This one's coming out of my head. Now, wouldn't you like to be served this? And it's not even done yet. Now, I'm going to put foil over this because I don't want it to dry out, which it will. I just don't want it to dry out. I'm not putting it super tight on it. But I do want it covered just enough to keep it from drying out so much. Because it is pork. And like I said, it's at 375. And how long am I going to cook this? I have no idea. Tell tender. I'll probably check it in 35 minutes and we'll see how it's going, but I don't think it should be over an hour. Might be, but we'll find out. See you then. Okay, my dish is done. It's a bit hot, so I'm going to turn you down and show you. Here it is. It just came out of the oven. And how does that look? You take care and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.